This is the Vacation Rental Success Podcast, keeping you up to date with news, views, information and resources on this rapidly changing short-term rental business. I'm your host, Heather Bayer, and with 25 years of experience in this industry, I'm making sure you know what's hot, what's not, what's new, and what will help make your business a success. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Vacation Rental Success Podcast. This is your host Heather Bayer, and as ever I'm super excited to be back with you once again. Today we're talking about AI again, because that's what this is all about. But today we're talking about it in a very real-world, practical way. Because while there's a lot of noise around AI right now, what most of us really want to know is this: how can these tools genuinely help us run better businesses, save time, think more clearly, and maybe even market more effectively? So my guest today is Jodi Bourne. And Jodi brings such a valuable perspective to this conversation because she comes at it as a marketer, a strategist, and someone who's been intentionally exploring how Claude can support the way she works. So in this episode, we're talking about why she's embraced Claude, what she likes about it, and how features like projects, Cowork, and skills can be used in ways that are actually relevant to our businesses. We'll also explore the marketing side of it, because that's what she is expert at. We'll talk about staying creative and using technology in a way that feels personal, thoughtful, and still very much rooted in hospitality. So without further ado, let's get started. This is my conversation with Jodi. So I am so delighted to have with me, once again, many times, Jodi has been on the show, Jodi Bourne. Welcome, Jodi. How's super to see you?
Hello, Heather. It's great to see you too. I meant to count. I think this is 7, maybe 8. I don't know. I'm just still waiting for my jacket in the mail.
Yeah, I haven't got around to that yet. Do you know, I appeared on somebody's podcast a while ago and then they sent me a letter saying, "What's your address? Because I want to send you something." I thought, I've never sent anybody anything.
That's a big deal now. I've received lots of little gifts.
Yeah. Oh, it's not a British thing. We don't, it's just
Maybe
not a
not.
British thing.
It is a Canadian thing because the two of those have been ladies from Canada. But you know what? Your gift is the SEO that keeps on giving.
We now have 2 podcasts. We have this, the Vacation Rental Success, and we now have a new one called, she says, what the heck is it called? It's called Grounded in AI.
Oh, that's a great name.
So what I'm doing is taking the AI podcast from Vacation Rental Success, which appears to be all of them now, and also publishing them on Grounded in AI, which is a Substack. So I'm just starting a Substack newsletter.
I'm starting a Beehive newsletter. I was in Substack for a little while, and the growth part would be difficult for me. Now, you have a huge audience already, so it's supposed to be easier that way. But yeah. I love newsletters too.
Yeah, me too. And I spend getting up earlier and earlier in the morning so I can read everything that's in my inbox. Anyhow, chit-chatting is lovely, and we've already done it before we started recording, and we shall probably do it at the end. But we want to talk today about Claude, because the last time you were on, which I think, I don't know, when was it? Last summer, I think. And you told me that you had got into Claude at that time. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm in ChatGPT. It's probably better. That's what I was thinking then. But here I am now, 7, 8, maybe 9 months later, thinking now that I barely use ChatGPT anymore. I use it for brain dumping all my inarticulate stuff, which is most of what I say when I'm out on a walk. I brain dump it into ChatGPT. So when I come back, I can then take the formalized brain dump, which ChatGPT has done very well, and then use it in Claude because I love it so much. So today we're going to talk more about Claude because we're both in there. So yeah.
That's good. I use ChatGPT now only for personal So it doesn't mix up things. It was hard to keep business and personal separate in there. So I use it purely for personal things, like my grocery list, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Mike and I had been in there using the same ChatGPT account, which is not good. ChatGPT doesn't like that, or OpenAI does not like that. So we've separated it out. So he's now got his own, but ChatGPT still remembers that Mike plays pickleball and he's a firefighter, and I get all that as well if it describes me as a firefighter. Which I guess I can be in certain circumstances.
If you need to be, let's hope so.
As an analogy.
Because I have my husband's business that I manage too, and it'll start telling me something, and then all of a sudden it brings up Bourne Environmental, and I'm like, no, wrong business. So that's one of the main reasons I switched, not even the main reason. I really feel like Claude is better.
Just before we begin, ChatGPT yesterday had a bit with my lovely German Shepherd, Britta. Had a couple of issues recently with her being leash reactive. Us, another dog that we've been meeting every day on the trail, has been reactive to her. So this has dredged up, which is what ChatGPT told me, dredged up all the old stuff that she had, her behavioural issues from 3 or 4 years ago. And so I went into ChatGPT and I said, this is what's happening, what shall I do? And we couldn't figure out what it was, but it did come up and say it's this learned behaviour that she had years ago that we trained out of her. But because she's been in this situation where another dog has been reactive to her, she's now preempting it.
Oh.
So I'm sure I would have come to that conclusion, but ChatGPT brought me there a little bit earlier. So anyway, yes. that was...
We always have to have a dog story in our talk.
We do. So you are a marketer, first and foremost. I'd like to go back to that time when you started using Claude. What was it that you've said now that perhaps ChatGPT was not doing it for you, but why did it feel more like a tool worth embracing rather than just another shiny bit of tech?
I think when I first started with all the AI, I started early with Jasper years ago, which was a great tool. Now, why would I pay for that when you could have the other? But anyway, so then when OpenAI started, and then I think Gemini might have been next or first. I don't know how long it was that Anthropic became a name and Claude became a name that I knew, but I'm tool obsessed. And so it was shiny and I looked into it and I was like, I'd go back and forth. It was fine. But then I learned about Claude projects, and that was a game changer because I'm working with 4 or 5 clients at a time, my own business, my husband's business, and the projects are you using Claude projects?
I am now. I was not. But so describe what a project is.
So what a project can do is basically house everything that's similar in one project. And so it doesn't go through all of your content and mix it up like we were just talking about with ChatGPT. And you can upload your own data. So for example, I have a client that I'm doing some marketing work with, full service marketing right now. And I've uploaded all of his guest avatars. We created the guest avatars in Claude, but then uploaded them, uploaded the brand voice, uploaded listing descriptions, uploaded everything into one project. And that is Claude's brain for that project. Mm-hmm. And so anything that we write or do or want to talk about or navigate, then it's all in Claude and it's all in that one project. And then if we keep individual chats for specific things, and I have individual skills, which we'll talk about later. But so just having it in a project and not having things mixed up with each other is really great. That's the main reason I shifted. And then I'm just constantly just astonished with what else it can do.
Yeah, astonishment is a word that I've used a lot recently, now that I'm really into Claude. And it does seem to be just so far away from ChatGPT now in terms of functionality and creating things. Today, I was doing some slides for the last week of the AI Ambassador course. So I have a project which is called the AI Ambassador Project. Mm-hmm. And as you say, everything is in there. All the previous weeks, all the handbooks, the outlines, everything is in that project. So when I say, well, okay, now I'm in week 7 here's the outline. I want to create 7 videos. And I've got all the outlines of my scripts, but I'd like you to make them articulate so they really sound better. And it is drawing on absolutely everything that is contained in that project.
Yeah.
And then it created the full scripts. I then went in and said, okay, so I now I want to create the slide decks for 7 videos. And one by one, he, I don't know. I don't call Claude anything but Claude. But first of all, I said, would you like me to create all of them at once, or would you like me to create one? And then you can evaluate it and let me know if you want to create any more. So created 1 slide deck. It was beautiful. And I said, great, shall I create the rest? Yes. Bang, bang.
There they are. Yes, I use it similarly. So some of my clients, when I'm working on a website project, I usually develop the brand design. Usually they don't come to me, clients don't come to me with a full brand. So that's part of what I do, is create their brand design for them. Used to be I would spend an hour or 2, or I'd have my assistant in Canva to create a handoff document to them on how to use their brand. The other day, I literally gave it a page of their website, gave Claude a page of the website and said, can you create a PowerPoint for their brand guide? And told it, I gave it a brand guide of an example. And it was literally like that. And it was perfect. It was perfect.
Yes. And just to come back on that, when I was talking about creating slide decks, and you just alluded to it, create a slide deck in Claude, and then it will come up and it says download. And when you download it, it downloads it as a PowerPoint.
Yes.
And then you can go in and edit it if you want.
Yep. Edit it in PowerPoint, or I tend to upload into Google Slides, and then that takes a little bit of editing, and Gemini can handle that. I use a lot of cross tools. I really do. But yeah.
Yes. Gemini, I don't know why I don't spend more time in Gemini, because we're in Google Workspace and it's all there for me. But I do use Nano Banana a lot for image creation.
Yes. But Claude is getting better at image creation even. And I think that it will have it already can work in Canva somewhat, but I think it will have a direct integration with Canva where you just describe the image that you want and it will actually send that to Canva to design. It's not there yet, but I know people that are making that tool.
When you're working with your clients, Jodi, how do you help them with their adoption of these tools?
That's sometimes very hard, and it surprises me. As I was telling you before, I have a client. Part of my offer now with clients when I call it the marketing roadmap, but part of that offer is to help them develop the tool set. Once we get through all the brand messaging and avatar development and competition research and all of that, and then I help them bring that together and put it in Claude for them and work alongside them. And I have clients that don't want to even go there. And then I have other clients that are like, oh, that's great, but we're not going to pay for it. It's $20. Come on. If you can't afford it, $20 for something that can change the way you do business is just crazy to me. But then others are willing to adopt and learn. It just depends. And then some people, you may have run into this with your program that you're doing. Some people are not knowledgeable yet, that they tend to have an idea of all this like major stuff that it can do instantly.
Yeah.
It can do a lot instantly, but the prompting is still very important. So
yeah, I come across those who say, okay, I've heard I can create these agents that will do everything. And yeah, there are agents that can do everything, but you've got to have the foundations in place in the first place. You can't just go in thinking that that's all you need to do. Just give an agent everything about your business and off it will go. But if you don't have that information already organized and structured, as we say, the AI will amplify everything. So if it's confused, it's going to amplify the confusion.
Exactly.
If it's clear, if you're clear and structured, it will amplify that clarity and structure. Yeah.
Exactly right.
But I'm still surprised that it has not taken off and more people aren't going down the sort of rabbit holes I am.
Yeah, it's actually scary. I have a really good personal friend who has 2 sons in college at A&M, both in engineering programs, which are both careers that are expected to be heavily hit by AI soon. And I've told both of them, that they might think about that coming out of college, and they are not even using AI for anything other than quick personal prompts. And that is shocking to me and sad, because I think we know what could happen and what is likely to happen in some of those issues.
And I think that's where it all lies, because unless you really get into it, you're not seeing the huge scope and where this is going. So it's a little bit the head in the sand. And I guess we were all like this. The internet came into being.
Exactly.
Buying the encyclopedias at the door.
I'm in Wimberley in the Hill Country, heavy tourist area.
I heard Wimberley I saw an article the other day that just popped up, and it said Wimberley was the number one most beautiful place in the US.
Oh, I believe that it's getting that reputation. In fact, one of my clients, the Utopian, was featured in Southern Living magazine just recently. And the entire area of Wimberley, several different businesses and things. But yeah, it's a beautiful place. But heavy tourism, but also we have a huge water issue. We're on an aquifer. We're in a drought. We've been in a drought for a few years. And anytime I mention AI or using Claude or anything like that, then I have multiple kind of friends in the area that send me messages. I've even had one lady start an argument with me on my Facebook about how I'm ruining the environment and using 10 gallons of water a day. I fully feel like AI is going to solve that problem somehow, eventually.
Yeah.
But
sorry, I interrupted you, and you were talking about Wimberley, and I just jumped in. And I can't
No, that's okay.
And I can't remember what we were about to talk about.
Yeah, and you've never been to Wimberley, so...
I know, I just hear about it. So we're talking about Claude. We talked about projects. You mentioned skills. Let's talk about skills, because I'm in the process of creating skills, and I think we ought to talk about the difference between skills and custom GPTs. Because a lot of people who I've talked to who said, so custom GPT, that's what I use. Why would I use a skill? And my answer to that is a custom GPT is it's a static thing. And a skill is not a Claude skill anymore. It's just a skill, because it can be used in different places. You can't take a custom GPT and use it in another platform. And you've got
very limiting.
But skills are portable, and that's what I absolutely love about creating a skill. We've talked about projects, but I have a skill, which my brand voice skill, and I got Claude to help me write that skill. Yes. I gave it all the information on me and the business, and it wrote all the instructions for the skill. So that's all done for me. And this little piece of code, because it's markdown, I guess you could call it code in a way, that Claude just picks up on it, and that just blows me away. If I go in and give Claude a prompt, it'll say, oh, this needs me to go and have a look at the brand voice skill. Yes. To make sure I'm answering or I'm writing something in your brand voice.
Yes. Yes. And I have a skill called, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to tell you another one that I've just done, which is called Podcast to Substack. So what it does, it takes my podcast transcript and then it creates ideas for my newsletter on Substack based on that podcast.
I have it. So when I have client calls with my consulting clients or with a client that's new or like just a lead that's coming in, so I take the transcripts and the Claude skill pulls out questions and frustrations and pain points that my clients are having, which gives me content ideas, email ideas, and also helps me. Sometimes I'm not fully able to answer or I need to come back to it. And so I'm able to take that and in our next call or maybe create a quick loom for them to re-explain what we had talked about in the meeting. And that's a Claude skill. Another Claude skill I was going to tell you about is because I have my brand voice, but I have my brand voice is more professional. I had it one brand voice and I created Jodi-isms. Have you come across the isms?
No.
Jodi-isms. And I got this from somebody maybe even a year ago. So what it is, it's a copywriter that I follow. So an ism is like I say a lot, listen up, buttercup. That's like a Jodi-ism. But I don't want that in all my writing. I don't want that in a LinkedIn post, for example, or an email to a client or whatever. But I do want it maybe on Instagram or maybe on a sales page. And so once everything's developed, then I have a skill, add my Jodiisms wherever they fit in the content that we've already written. And so it doesn't always pull it, but it's there if I need it.
Any others? Do you have any other skills?
So I have the keyword research skill, and I do this for every client that I'm working on the SEO for. I do the keyword research. I use keywords everywhere, which is, I know I thought you're familiar with that. I talk about it all the time because it's one of my favorite tools, but it integrates with Claude. So it's just right here in Claude. So I do my keyword research in Claude usually, or Gemini. And then I have a spreadsheet of the keywords, how often they're used. I can star them and prioritize them for clients. So that skill is bring the keywords into a content, whether that's a listing description that I'm helping them write, or maybe I'm writing it for their website or their homepage copy or anything that we're work blogs. So that's another one of the skills that I'm using. But I'm actually taking that skill and moving that to Claude Cowork.
That's what we're going to talk about in a minute, but I just want to wrap up on Claude's skills. How do you create? I said that how I create my skill is I started with Claude and I said, what skills would be useful for me? Give me a list of 10 skills that might be useful for me in my business. Now, it knows all about my business because I have a piece of knowledge, which is everything I do and everything I've ever done. So I ask it, what skills would be useful? And it came up with a list of really good ones, all these repetitive things that I do.
That you wouldn't think about, creating something that would help you. Yeah,
And then I took one of those skills and said, okay, I'd like to work on this one. I'd like you to create some instructions for this skill. What questions do you have for me? And then it comes up with a whole list of questions, answer the questions, and we iterate backwards and forwards. So it's not set in stone when you've done it. You can go in and have a look at the markdown, which is simply the text that it's written, and adjust it to make it right. And is that how you do yours?
That's how I started doing mine. Another thing that I had several custom GPTs that I had built and finessed and really would go back in and edit and change. And they're just so amazing. But how many times are we going to say amazing on this?
We need a new superlative. We'll go to Claude and ask for a list of new superlatives.
Yeah, a list of 10 we can start using. But so then I pulled that into Claude and gave it all the instructions from ChatGPT and said, help me create a skill that is the same thing. And it was a lot of, how do you say that? Going back and forth. Gosh, I can't believe I don't remember that word. I can't say that word.
And I can't think of it. It's not iterative, is it?
No, iteration. Yeah.
Iteration. Yeah, a lot of iterations.
But when we go back and forth, and it can take a while, but then it's perfect and better than what I had in ChatGPT.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. I've moved most of my GPTs across now. So let's talk about Cowork, because that is where things can get really off the wall good. Now, as I mentioned when we talked before, I've had some problems with Cowork, just trying to get it to get into my Google Drive. But I'll give you just one thing I wanted to share, that a couple of years ago, I had a VA that worked for me. And one of the jobs I gave her, I wanted to take all my scripts that I'd done in a module of a training course, and they were all separate scripts. But I wanted to combine the text from each of those scripts into one document. So for her, that meant going into each document, copying the script, pasting it into another one, then going into the next one and doing that. So that was the first thing I did with Cowork, was to say, here's this folder. It's got all of these scripts. Please take the text from these scripts and combine them into one document. That was my first.
That's a good skill. I've done a few similar things. The first day that I started using Cowork, I did not sleep for about 28 hours. I had so much fun just building and playing and finessing and making it better. But I created a skill. It's called Coffee and Claude. And every single morning, I just say, so Michael named Claude Jean-Claude Van Damme because it kicks ass. So I say, hi, Jean-Claude. I'm to have our coffee. And it reads my emails, tells me what's important, tells me if I have any client emails, reads my Google Calendar, tells me if I have any upcoming events or anything on my schedule. Then that's the first thing it does. Then it reads my Asana. Do I have any tasks that are due? What is Hannah working on, my assistant? Because that's in Asana. And then that's within 5 or 10 minutes. So I developed that over that whole day and then some on the next day. And it's connected to my Google Drive, so it can pull things out for me. And then it remembers. So I built the skill. So if I say something like, don't forget, help me remember next Tuesday that I'm going to be on Heather's podcast and I need to put that out on Instagram. That's not something that I would typically put in my calendar and might forget to put in Asana or might forget to actually put the details in it. And then on Tuesday, Claude will say, don't forget, your podcast is publishing today with Heather Bayer, so you can send out an Instagram story about it. And so it's just, so it remembers, it's trained itself to remember and to add to the notebook that it's, or the folder that it's using.
I need to step back a bit and say, how did you start this? How did you set that up?
Gosh, I don't know. Let me think.
I think one thing we've got to tell people is that Cowork is desktop.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Cowork is something that you have to download and add to your desktop. And I found that it needs a lot of RAM. I think that's the right word to use. So I did have to clear some RAM before I could get started with it. But it sits on your desktop and then it has connectors. And you can connect it to so many different tools. I haven't even seen all the tools that it connects with, but it connects with Asana, connects with Google Drive and all your workspace tools. It connects with your desktop folders. It connects with Canva. I had it organize all of my Canva files from 2016 to now. It was one of the skills that I created for Cowork. So then once it's connected, it can actually integrate those connections with each other. So it doesn't just connect to your Google Drive. It can connect your Google Drive to a spreadsheet and then put it in Notion or Asana or something like that. So I started with the Claude because one of the first things I heard about Claude Cowork was that it can give you a synopsis of your emails. And it can even respond to emails if you want it to. But so I get a ton of emails that I don't need, newsletters, that kind of thing. And it not only gives me a summary and says you have 75 newsletters in your email today, but it'll also give me a synopsis of maybe the ones it has learned what I open and what I don't. And yesterday it said, you haven't opened an email from this person in a week. So is that something you might want to unsubscribe to? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll unsubscribe to that.
So this comes back to what we've been saying for a long time, that AI can be your personal assistant. And that's what it is to me. It's not taking over my job. It's not doing stuff for me. It's just that executive assistant sitting on one side, doing that time-consuming work.
That you're paying. I pay Claude, I think it's $100 a month because I use the max version. But for $20 a month, you can get...
I'm still on $20 a month and doing okay with it. I am hitting some limits, but then I do use it an awful lot. I'm thinking that the max is probably coming very shortly for me. But I think for the normal user, I think the $20 a month, and I am going on to the free version of ChatGPT because I don't use it any longer. The $20 a month I was paying to OpenAI is now going to go to Anthropic. That seems an easy switch. So going back on that, so there's the idea of connectors. So you can set up your Cowork to connect with your Google Drive, your Google Calendar, your organization tool, whether it's Asana or ClickUp or whatever.
I don't know that it works with ClickUp. I just heard the other day that integration isn't great.
I haven't tried that. It's good. Maybe I'll go back to Asana.
I'm sure it will soon.
Yeah, I mean, there's more integrations coming in all the time. I didn't know it had an integration with Canva. And now you fired me up because I've got stuff in Canva that goes back for years.
Yes. Now, I will say that organization was not as great. And I feel like, I think I've heard actually that's a Canva limitation, not a Cowork limitation. But my Google Drive, I had it completely reorganize my Google Drive, move anything in Google Drive that was older than 2024 to an archive folder or multiple archive folders, and then summarize with a spreadsheet what was in each folder with the link to the folder in the spreadsheet, so that I could then go to the folder and either clear it out or decide what to keep. I had it pull all of my client images. When I work with a client and I have images, they give me permission to use those in my marketing sometimes. And so I had it pull all the client images into specific folders. They were all over the place in my Google Drive. And that was a huge thing that I would have spent. You could have easily spent $1,000 hiring somebody to clean up your files. And it did it in an afternoon.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's the other thing. You say it did it in an afternoon. That's a period of time. These things aren't instant.
The Cowork skill, because you're connecting multiple things. And then sometimes it waits on you to come back in and say, it asks permission a lot, which I like that it's asking permission. But some people, I think, get frustrated with that part of it. But it'll just pop up on my screen if I'm here that it wants permission again to do something else. But
I'd been on Facebook earlier on today, and I saw something that came up that said you can now use Claude with your phone.
Yes, today. I just got it.
So did you read it? Can you tell us what that was about?
Yes, it just popped up and said, did you know you can use Claude with your phone? Or iPhone, I think only now. So then it gives you the QR to download. And what it is, you can control the workspace on your computer with your phone. So I can be out and about and do a skill or prompt it to do a skill that I've already created. I didn't look into seeing if I could create the skill from my phone or if it's just basically push the skill to work. And skill is the wrong word here, but because there's so many, the vocabulary is extensive. And I haven't tried it yet, but I read about it and how that's going to work. And that's another thing that can just be such a time saver. It will also so I turned Claude on because it will only work if your computer's running.
Yeah.
So that is one big thing. But then there's a switch now where you can have Claude make sure your computer stays running and doesn't time out. And I started that day before yesterday so that it do work overnight.
Yeah.
I love my sleep.
Sleep is so overrated.
According to Jean-Claude, his sleep is non-existent. Well, another really cool thing that I'm doing with Cowork that is going to be just something that I'm going to use for my clients, because I'm really doing a lot of research and a lot of work in SEO, AEO, GEO. I call it EIEIO. Who needs all those letters? I've only tried this with my brand and one client, but we take a blog post and all I do is, so I created a Google Drive folder for that client that is just blogs. I pull the blogs from the website, which Claude could do, but I haven't set that part of it up yet. But so I can copy paste the blog, put it in a Google Doc. And so I had my assistant do that. She did 5 blogs. It has in the Claude folder that it's going through, it has the keyword research, it has the brand voice, it has the listing descriptions. And again, it's pushing it out to another Google Doc that's the finished product. And then at the end of the Google Doc, it tells me what it changed from the original blog post so that I can see very clearly, what it changed. I said Google Doc. It actually creates a Word doc because it doesn't. Claude Cowork, for some reason, can't create Google Docs, but it can create Word docs.
Yeah.
So I have the post. So the next step is creating the connection between the blog written to WordPress so that it goes into WordPress automatically. So I just have to have it set up with that individual client to be able to log in, because that's one other thing it can do. It can take over your browser. You can give it permission. Have you done that yet?
I have not.
Yeah. So it can take over your browser. That might be your Google Drive folder. Have it just go to your browser where the Google Drive is. And it might be able that. I'm pretty sure I had to do that. And that's crazy because you can watch it to the browser. So once I connect that, then that blog can automatically go into my client's WordPress website, write itself, code itself with the H1, H2 tags, all of that. It's
So what you're saying is taking an original blog post that was on their site, and it is giving it the AEO, GEO treatment, which actually means that it is able to be seen by the AI, by large language models.
Yes.
So, because as we all know now, if you go search for something in Google, there's no Google ads pop up at the beginning anymore.
No.
So what comes up at the beginning is what AI is recognizing as being relevant and what people want to read. And the whole idea of AEO and GEO is to enable what you're putting on your website to be seen in that way. Did I get that right?
Yes, that's right. It's all based on the basics of SEO, which a lot of people don't have that set up correctly. But then there's more to it. The AEO is a lot to do with building your authority. And I have to set that up in advance. I have to explain to it what that particular client's authority is in their area. But then so it writes all that. It adds to it and
it publishes it.
It will eventually publish it and I feel like that's just me being a little bit controlling right now. This is for client work. I want to make sure it's right. But the other thing that I can have it do now, which was one of the big issues with all of these tools when they came out, was it can lie to you. It will lie to you. But I have it double checked, and the double check is always correct. Like just yesterday, somebody had done on their blog, they'd done a roundup of some local restaurants. And I just said, check to make sure all of these are still operational. Get the website or Facebook page and the link and the phone number and open hours. Mm-hmm. So you add that to the blog and that automatically adds an authority piece to the blog post rather than just saying, here's 10 of my favorite restaurants. Now we have the link, the social share, all of that in the post. And it was correct. It gave me a list of the ones that were no longer relevant or open. And there was like 4 out of the 10. Mm-hmm. That's another just step that would have taken me probably 30, 45 minutes to go in and check and make sure everything was available.
So where do you see it all going?
Are we talking about just for our industry or for the whole wide world?
For the globe,
Because I'm telling everybody to become a plumber.
Yeah.
But
yes, I've got relatives who are training to be lawyers. It's just,
yes.
Whoa, that is probably not the best business to be in.
Did you see that New York Times article about the lawyer, the law firm, who said he was a big law firm, and he said that he is not going to hire any associate law years out of college this time, and it's the first year he's ever not done that.
Yes, I saw something where a lawyer had written, he'd been a lawyer for 35 years, worked all his way up, learnt everything he could on the way up as an associate from the partners. And there he was now in that job. And he said, what's going to happen when there are no more new lawyers coming in because there's and there'll be no one to learn from.
Right.
Because as these senior lawyers go, there's no one there. And it was a bit mind-blowing.
And scary.
Yeah.
Definitely not denying that the future feels scary in it's not going to take over medical, other than medical research, but we have to have doctors, nurses, labs, all of those things. So it's not going to take over medical. It's not going to take over construction for a long time. They're saying probably 20 years at least. Mm-hmm. But anything that is work at a desk, it's going to take over to the point that we're not going to have those people experts, I feel, just like you said.
Yeah.
And that is scary. That is scary. And I'm hoping and feel like that's going to work itself out somehow, because businesses have to hire people. I feel like that having people is still going to be important. It's just the type of people now that are going to be doing the work.
Yeah, and certainly in hospitality. And I see what will be there for people in hospitality is more creativity. There's more people who can, so you can you come up with the ideas and then you can pass them out to AI to get them maximized, and you find a real home for those ideas within a business. But I can't see that we will take the people out of hospitality.
No, because that's what hospitality is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it will take the people out of hospitality, but I do think it's going to make hospitality easier for the brands that are able, the businesses that are able to implement it. One of the things I've learned just recently, as you have too, is how easy it is to make your own apps. I have a client right now she's been using a I think $79 a month software subscription to answer guest questions on her website. And she's making her own app. And now not only did we put it on her website, but where she's also going to implement it with her PMS so that it can handle those questions. How big of a dog can I have? Or can I bring this? Or the guest questions that come through, especially on Airbnb, and it's going to answer those. So she doesn't have to integrate a new tool that costs her money because she's able to build it and keep up with it herself. And I think that's where a lot of people are going to be able to go, the ones that try and find out that it's just simple. Really. You can't say simple, but you can say easier than it would have been 2 years ago to create your own app.
Sure. And really, you hear people say it's just a matter of being able to talk your idea. Because I don't know about you, I don't type anymore. It's all voice.
Whisper? Have you started using?
Yes.
Amber Hurdle just turned me on to Whisper a couple weeks ago, and it's just the greatest thing.
I know.
Ever.
Because it's everywhere.
It's
emails and Slack, and everywhere you would type something, you just talk it through it instead with Whisper. Yep. So, yes, I've mentioned over the past weeks on the podcast because I think it's such a great tool, and I've completely lost my track now.
How easy it was to code.
To create an app is as easy as talking your idea into. I use Lovable, and so I create. What I've done is I go into Claude. If I've got the idea for an app, I go into Claude and say, okay, first of all, I want you to check out this skill, which is the Lovable manual. So the Lovable manual is there, so it can read that. You can read the entire manual. So just check that you've read the Lovable manual. It says, yes, okay, create the instructions for this.
Now, I have not done that yet. I did not know about that. I've been in Lovable itself, and I honestly haven't played with Lovable very much. I keep seeing it. I see you talk about it and some other people that I follow talking about it. At some point in my day, I actually have to work.
Oh, yeah.
And you asked a question about the operators and how they're going to use it. One thing that I've seen and actually scared me for a little bit, but then didn't, is half of my income every year is website design. And that's not something I'm going to be promoting anymore. First of all, is it Crafted Stays? I forgot. Yes, that's a great product. It's one of the better, and so it's affordable for people. So that, and then also, you can build an entire website with Claude.
You can build it with Lovable. I have just built, and I've never built a website in my life, but I've just built a website with Lovable.
Did you use like HTML that went to a server, or did you use Word? Because you can do WordPress or anything.
No, I just built a website.
So you built it in Lovable.
I built it in Lovable. Yeah,
and it stays in Lovable.
And I have a domain for it, and it's currently hosted on Lovable. So I can go into Lovable and make changes to it. So there will be another step to it. Anyway, so that's that. Do you know that's a topic of a whole other episode?
Yes.
Before we finish, and we are coming up to the end here, unfortunately, I want to give people something to go away with, to say, okay, I can, out of all this conversation, I can take this away and I can do this today. What would you suggest that somebody goes and does if they haven't yet worked with Claude?
I would say create a project and upload anything. Like, for example, if you're a property management company, you can upload all your listing descriptions, for example, to a Claude project, your brand voice, your operating plan, your calendar, even your upcoming calendar, and have it start creating content for you, marketing content, emails, doing research for you through that content, because that's easy. One objection I hear a lot from people is that it's not authentic. It doesn't write in my brand voice. It's very generic. And that is because they haven't set it up in the right ways. They're still just going in and typing in a prompt and getting generic Instagram post or email. Mm-hmm. But once you've created the project, have that kind of internal database, then it can very easily write in your brand voice. And so creating your brand voice and then putting into a Claude project, I would say that. And then I just read the other day, if you can just sit down for 30 minutes a day, just open up one of the tabs, or open up Claude Code, open up something, see what other people have done, go to YouTube and see what others are doing and how they're integrating it into their work day. And you're going to get your own ideas. Ask Claude, like you said, ask it. Here's what I do on a daily basis. How can you help me?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's where I would go on my advice, is just start by asking the questions. To say, I'm new to you. I'm new to Claude. Where do I start?
Right.
Anthropic does have a number of courses, free courses that are currently available. There's a Claude 101. I'll put the link in the show notes.
My husband's doing that right now, the Claude 101, and it's really good.
It is good, yeah. I started the Claude Code one yesterday, and I quit about 3 videos in. I thought, Claude Code is something else, and I'm not even going to go into that right now. But
it can create a learning path for you. So I've had it do that, and I've had Perplexity do that, create a learning path. It links out to YouTube videos from different creators, and
yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
To me, there is nothing out there, I don't think, that you can't do with AI. There's something there that's going to help you out. And I did see something, and I'm going to close on this one, is I read somewhere it was a quote. Gosh, I must find that quote. And it was a fear. I know what it was. It's Anthropic did a big survey, and the results of that survey have just come out. And it was just asking people what their fears were and what they enjoyed, what they didn't like. And one of these fears was that it's taking away my capacity to think.
That has actually bothered me. I'm a writer. I have a degree in writing, and I love to write. And I agree that my writing is more and more dependent on it. It doesn't write for me, but it definitely helps me think through what I'm saying and clarify things. And that has started to make me wonder about my brain and if it's taking away some of my brain functionality. So I actually was just reading an article the other day of things that I can do to make sure I'm like actually physically writing.
Yeah.
And another thing, I know that was what you wanted to leave on, but I wanted to mention that one of the things that's bothered me lately is all this, you can tell that's AI because it used this word, or it uses the M dash or whatever. And I am like, so what? I mean, it's still my voice. It's still my thoughts. It's still my voice talk through something. I know you posted about that the other day. It is still my brain.
Yeah.
It's just helping my brain work, just a calculator did when I was in 8th grade.
This is it. That's my argument. It's calculators, GPS. How many people out there have ever opened a map to do map reading? Now, I remember driving with the map book on it was on the passenger seat.
Yes.
Because we didn't have phones. So we just have to look at, I'm driving along, let's just check down at the map.
Exactly.
Yes,
or stop on the side of the road to see where you were going.
Yeah. So for those people, I would say just try thinking about going from one place to another where place B you've never been in your life, and do it without GPS. Anyway, this is not the end of this conversation, Jodi Bourne. I think this is start of something regular. I think we should come together and do this more often. Because
I am all in. I love talking to you and sharing what we're doing and learning. And and it's fun.
Yeah. We get to geek out together.
Yes, exactly.
Jodi, It's been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me on this one. And as I say, it will not be the last.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation, and thank you so much, Jodi, for joining me. And yeah, we did a bit of geeking out there, and it was most enjoyable. I hope you enjoyed it too. And I hope it's given you a fresh perspective on what's possible when AI is being used thoughtfully, not just as a tool for speed, but as a support for better thinking, better communication, and better business decisions overall. And what I especially loved about this conversation was Jodi's reminder that tools like Claude are only as powerful as the intention behind how we use them. Whether it's helping refine your marketing or strengthen your brand voice or organise your workflows or simply give you a better place to start, there's real potential here for short-term rental professionals who are willing to explore with curiosity and purpose. And as always, this isn't about replacing the human side of hospitality, it's just about creating more space for it. So thanks so much for listening. If this conversation sparked ideas for you, I'd love it if you could share the episode with a friend or a colleague in the industry. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of the Vacation Rental Success Podcast. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep creating your own path to AI success. It's been a pleasure as ever being with you. If there's anything you'd like to comment on, then join the conversation on the show notes for the episode at vacationrentalformula.com. We'd love to hear from you, and I look forward to being with you again next week.